Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, and today I'm going to be talking about Pixar's 1999 sequel to their breakout hit movie Toy Story, the not terribly imaginatively titled Toy Story 2. I'm pleased to say that the title is pretty much the only way in which the film shows a lack of imagination. The movie begins some 6 months or so after the end of the original film. Overall, things are pretty great for the toys of Andy's room. They've navigated the arrival of a puppy, always a dangerous time for toys, or indeed any chewable object, and Woody and Buzz, who were once bitter rivals for Andy's affection, are now the best of buddies. Into every life a little rain must fall, however, and thus it is for the toys. When Andy's mother holds a yard sale, remember yard sales? Probably not. Unless you're as old as I am, she includes some of the older, less used toys. Seeing one of these toys about to be sold, Sheriff Woody sneaks out to perform a rescue. Unfortunately, the outcome of this is that Woody himself ends up being stolen by an unethical toy collector who plans to rebox him and sell him to a museum in Japan. Buzz immediately organises a group of toys to rescue Woody, but meanwhile the sheriff himself is meeting new toys, discovering more about his own history, and being confronted with the fact that kids eventually grow out of their toys. One day, Andy will no longer want him. Would life in a museum really be worse than being thrown away? Toy Story 2 was originally conceived as a direct-to-video offering. Disney had purchased Pixar by this point, and Disney had a policy of releasing home video sequels to its successful features, and they'd been doing so for several years. The advantages were that the investment required was smaller, which reduced the risk, and the potential profits were significant. The direct-to-video sequel to Aladdin, for instance, made an estimated $100 million profit. This film would have a turbulent production, however. Disney wanted the film done quickly to cash in on the first movie's success, and by mid-1997, 2 years after Toy Story came out, they became so unhappy with the pace of work that they demanded the producer be replaced, a demand to which Pixar complied. Ironically, 5 months later, when Disney executives finally saw the movie's story reels with some finished animation, they were so impressed with what had been achieved that they decided to switch the film to a theatrical release. While artistic merit was likely not their only motivation, Pixar's costs on the film made it unlikely to be financially successful as a direct-to-video offering. This was, in my opinion, absolutely the right call. Toy Story 2 is an excellent film, a rare case of a sequel which overshadows the original on its own merits. Let's talk about why, starting with one of the simplest reasons. The original Toy Story had likeable characters, clever jokes, and infectious charm, but as I discussed in my video on that film, it had one major flaw: it cheated. Having established a rule that toys can only move when humans aren't watching, and then used that rule several times during the film, its climactic scene relies on the toys doing exactly the opposite. This doesn't ruin the film, but it does weaken it, especially since I can see several ways that the same outcome could have been achieved without breaking the movie's own self-imposed rules. Toy Story 2 avoids this weakness. The toys are only moving in sequences where they could plausibly do so unobserved, or at the very least convince themselves that they are unobserved. I am under a traffic cone, and while a person might see the traffic cone move, they won't see me. It's perhaps a case of dancing up to the line of the rules, but it's done in good cheer and with verve, and it doesn't flagrantly break the rules. Overall, it's smart writing, and I appreciate that the film makes the effort, rather than cheating like its predecessor did. Secondly, one of the key themes of Toy Story 2 is that of loss and endings, specifically the loss of love and the end of relationships, as seen through the specific lens of the bond between a child and their favourite toys. This is a clever idea. Almost all of us can remember the toys we loved as kids, but then outgrew and sold or gave away. So when Woody is faced with the question, isn't it better to be in a museum than to one day end up in the trash? It's a scenario with which we can identify, and possibly feel a little unease as we imagine what that would mean if we actually lived in a world where toys had feelings. Now, this is the first Pixar film to openly deal with themes of loss, though certainly far from the last, as anyone who has been emotionally destroyed by the first 10 minutes of Up can attest. I think this movie does a really deft job of exploring these bittersweet themes with grace and thoughtfulness, without sacrificing the film's overall cheery good nature and sense of fun. It celebrates the relationships the toys have with each other in what is very much a found family dynamic, and it emphasises the joy that comes from emotional closeness, even as it acknowledges the pain that can result, as exemplified by the song When She Loved Me. If you're going to get a bit of dust in your eye during this movie, that's probably the moment it's going to happen. When She Loved Me is sung by Jessie, the winking cowgirl in the image on your screen. Jessie is a new character introduced for this film, and in addition to delivering the film's most emotionally challenging moment, she is just a real breath of fresh air from end to end. She's an active, engaged female character with her own ambitions and dreams. Presumably because the toys in Toy Story are owned by a young boy, the original film's cast was virtually all male. The only female character was Bo Peep, who existed pretty much only as Woody's background love interest and played little role in the film's events. Jessie, by contrast, had plenty to contribute to the movie's story, and she does a lot to anchor the film's emotional arc. She's a great character, and it certainly didn't hurt that Pixar cast the talented Joan Cusack to do the voice acting. Now, Jessie was actually not present in the first draft of the film's script. Fortunately, the wife of Pixar's chief creative officer at the time encouraged her husband to include a female character with more substance than Bo Peep. This was a smart decision creatively, as Jessie's introduction inevitably created new dynamics between the toys and enriched their relationships. It was also a smart decision financially. Did you know that approximately half of all children are girls? A lot of media executives seem not to be aware of this. Jessie dolls were to prove a monster hit, selling out of many stores after the film's release. Overall, Toy Story 2 builds on the successes of its predecessor, and it works hard to correct that film's few blemishes. It would not be as successful as it is without the original Toy Story to support it, but it brought the franchise to even greater heights, and it is well worth seeing. Next time, the film for which Angelina Jolie won her second Golden Globe, the 1998 biopic of supermodel Gia Karanji, simply titled Gia. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.